Hi everyone, it's Niamh here and welcome to my art journaling channel. Today we're going to be playing with some collage tissues. These tissues are from Natalie May Scrapbooking and I'll leave the links below. So you can see this is a beautiful collage tissue that I have trimmed out and I've trimmed off a lot of the excess, and I do that a lot with my collage tissues because I don't like having a halo around them. Because this is quite a white image, I wanted to glue it down onto my page so I didn't have much of that brown coming out behind. So I've put a little bit of gesso across the page to act as a bit of a base to lay my collage tissue on. And because it is mostly towards the right hand side of the page, that's where I've put the majority of my gesso on my page as well. So I'm just drying off my gesso, and then I'm going to use gel medium to glue it down. So I'm putting gel medium over where the image is going and gluing that down on the page. So you can see there's lots of color on this page, which I wanted to extend. So that was my challenge with this, to try and match the colors that were on this image to help blend it into the background a little bit. So once I've glued my collage tissue down, I'm then going to trim it off so it sits on the page flush. Now I could quite easily leave that on this page. It's a beautiful image as is, but I just wanted to add more and make it sort of, I suppose, blend into the background. So the first thing that I'm doing is grabbing a stencil. It's got lots of text on it. This is a Dina Wakley stencil. I think it's called Mantras, and I'm trying to find some colors that will go with it. So I'm using my archival inks and using a sponge and sponging through my stencil. Now, if you obviously want to use paint, you could do. There was no rhyme or reason to me grabbing this except that the color matched really well. So I was looking at products that the color would match more so than, you know, just looking for paint. I just wanted to make sure that I could get the closest matches as possible. So you can see I'm pulling out a bit of purple color as well, because there's some purples in this as well, to do like a shadow over the top too. So I'm not doing it over all of it, and I've just offset my stencil a little bit so I get this sort of shadowy effect, which you'll see in the close-up at the end. So again, just going in with my sponge and sponging it through. So archival ink is a permanent ink. It's an oil-based ink and it's not going to move. One of the reasons I really like using it is the fact that I can paint over the top. So I'm putting an acrylic ink over this, which is a grey colour, so I can sort of have a bit of a shadow going with this. If I'd used like a distress ink or something, all that ink that I'd stencil on the background will be running. So, you know, it's really important when you know you're going to be layering stuff up that you use the appropriate materials. So I painted that acrylic paint on, but it wasn't quite what I wanted. I wasn't getting the effect I wanted. So I rubbed that off with a wet wipe, and I'm going in with my Stabilo Oil pencil instead and wetting that and getting that really inky. The great thing about working with acrylic paints, where I had the acrylic paint in the background, so that gesso and the gel medium, is that if you don't like something when it's still wet, you can rub it away. So I was able to wipe away most of that acrylic ink I put in the background and instead put in this Stabilo Oil pencil, which I had a little bit more control over where I wanted to put it. So as doing this, I'm thinking, right, okay, I've sort of added a bit, but I still want to blend this in a little bit more. And one of the easiest ways to blend things in is to actually add splatter, which seems really, really strange. But splatter is a great way to unify a page while it looks really organic. So, because you're not really controlling where the splatter goes, but it is going over everything. So it's sort of a really great way to blend everything in. And I'm using my gloss sprays to do this, and I'm using eggplant and fuchsia. Again, two colours that really match with the colours I've got happening in the background. And because it's with the gloss sprays and doing the splodging or splattering on the page, it's you've got some darker bits and you've got some lighter bits. I then want to add in some metallics, so I've got the Sterling gloss spray, which is a new one, which is a gorgeous glittery silvery colour, and I was able to use the stem of the gloss spray to sort of draw in some of that line detail in her hair, to get some of those white bits. So when this dries down a little bit, it's not quite as white as it looks on screen. It is more metallic. It blends into the background a little bit more, which I really like, but you get that glimmer as you move the page around. You get this sort of metallic look that's happening. So while I'm doing that, I'm now thinking about what else I want to add to the page, and I've got where I've drawn around that flower, which is a little bit heavy, and I wanted to blend it in again. So I decided that I want to write a quote over that part of my picture. So I've still got the line detail in the background, but it's not quite as in the face as before. But I wanted to continue to match the colours. So quite often you'll see me when I'm writing quotes on my page, I will, use black or I'll use white, but obviously you can use any colour you want. So I broke out my purples to do this. So I've written my quote just my ordinary letters. Now I'm going back and extending the letters and making them a little bit thicker where I needed to fill in the space. Once I've done that, I'm now going to go in with a lighter colour and do a little bit of a drop shadow on it. So again, usually when I'm doing a shadow or a highlight, I suppose, I use either a black or a white to push it out from the background. But by using a lighter version of the colour you're using, you sort of get that more 3D shadowy effect on your letters. So again, play around with what you've got. Now you'll notice I'm sort of heat setting that as I go along, because while paint pens do dry quite quickly, my hand is going over the top of it and it's quite easy to smudge too. So just give it a little bit of blast and it will dry really quickly. Now I'm going around with the white as well, and you can see just having that little bit of white helps to really push that out from the background. So even though I'm going over where the gesso is, because there's stenciling and there's splatter and all sorts in the background, it really does help to just sharpen up the letters, to push them out from the background and to make it a lot easier to read. And when I've done that, have a little bit of a dry, and that's a finished page. So you can see in the close-up now how I have extended that image. I've tried to match up the colours. You can see how those letters are pushed out from the background. You can see that little glimmer in her hair from the silver that was splattered over the page too. So have a go with using your collage tissues. Use the colours that are on them and see if you can match them up with the products you've got to help blend them into your page a little bit more. Check out my description box below to find the links to the Natalie May collage papers if you like the one I used. And until next time, bye for now.